Christ-centered recovery, rescue, and reentry ministries, the Foundry is reaching into some of the darkest places of society to bring hope and radical transformation. In each area, residents are taught the importance of a relationship with Jesus Christ and other life-giving skills. We provide more than a simple handout. We provide hope for a brighter future.
About a year ago, my life was totally a wreck. I had got into drugs and alcohol and sex and criminal activity, and I just didn't know where I was headed. But I came to the Foundry, and immediately I had this encounter with Christ, and everything began to change. You know, I began to worship God like I never had before. I began to hear about His truths and implement them in my life. My ways begin to change, my thoughts begin to change, even my speech began to change. And as to where I didn't have any hope before, I now found hope, and my focus was redirected. I got my GED and I'm headed to college, and I know now that as long as I keep Jesus Christ number one, I cannot fail.
Through a 12-month Christ-centered recovery program, the Foundry channels God's amazing love and forgiveness to men and women battling drug addiction and substance abuse. Through His hands, these broken individuals regain basic necessities, restore their hope and self-esteem, and achieve real and lasting change in their lives. Residents participate in group and individual counseling, develop life and job skills through work therapy, and receive help in GED preparation, keyboarding, and literacy training through our Education Center, all while grounding themselves in God's Word through discipleship and recovery classes, worship services, personal reflection, and prayer.
It's hard to believe that a little over a year ago I was in a lonely, depressed state of mind. I was shooting up heroin every single day. I couldn't live without it, couldn't go to work without it. And one day I just realized, I didn't want to live my life that way anymore, and I didn't have to live my life that way anymore. I've always known God, known of God, I had a relationship with Him as a child growing up, and after coming to the Foundry a little over a year ago, He's once again shown me that love that I can never deny. I really feel like God's called me to just share the gospel with people, and that's really a passion of mine, just telling people about Jesus and what He's done in my life.
While some in our community may not come to us seeking shelter, they often need a place to turn to for help with other life necessities. Our goal is to reach out to these individuals and families with assistance and encouragement to meet their most basic needs for food and clothing. A hot, nourishing meal, served with Christ's love and compassion, helps satisfy their physical and spiritual hunger, while food boxes sustain individuals and families with enough food for several meals. This year, the Foundry will provide nearly 260,000 meals and 83,000 nights of shelter.
I had been drinking for years. It gradually got worse and worse and worse. No matter what I tried, I couldn't stop. It got to the point where I was drinking in the mornings, drinking in the afternoon, drinking at night. I lost everything that I had, from my marriage to my job. Had nowhere to go, basically facing a homeless situation. And I called the Foundry, and they took me in. They got me into the program within about 2 weeks, gave me a place to stay, 3 meals a day, and above all that, they offered me God, which was the one thing that was missing in my life. And this spiritual awakening that they gave to me, or they gave me the opportunity to find, has restored things 100-fold to me. The things that I grasped for before just to stay afloat, the alcohol that I used to as a Band-Aid to cover my hurts, I don't need any of that anymore. God has set me free from that, and I thank the Foundry for that.
More than 11,000 men are released from prison in Alabama every year. After many years in prison, sadly, many of them don't have the emotional maturity, life skills, or support system to live outside the walls of prison. Studies show that within 3 years, 60% of these former inmates will commit another serious crime. The Foundry Reentry Program is designed to help men leaving prison successfully transition to independent living, never to return to a life of crime in the walls of prison. Our reentry program is experiencing tremendous success, with only 10% of those completing the program since 2005 returning to prison.
I've done about 19 years in the penitentiary, living the wrong way. The Foundry's helping me learn to live the right way and live with God. We have boundary classes once a week, and they teach us a lot of things on triggers and things to keep us from going back to the old ways where it used to lead us back to our troubles and use of drugs. Before I got to prison, I had my kids, and now I've come out of prison, I've got grandbabies, and I've got to show my grandbabies a good way of living. I got a lot to look forward to now when I get out. With God's help, I'm going to have a good life with my grandbabies and my kids, and I'm looking forward to it.
Through the Foundry's Reentry, Rescue, and Recovery Ministries, we are freeing the oppressed, removing the chains that bind, providing food and shelter, and helping those in trouble. Lives of destruction are becoming lives of destiny. But this is only possible through the compassion and generosity of our faithful friends and community. Your gifts provide hope. Hope for a husband to return to his wife. Hope for a mother to return to her children. Hope for a prodigal son to return home. Hope for the future.